one thing I know is I got a purpose. Ready to
Hey, how's it going? It's Joshua Sin with Impossible Movement. Super excited to share something with you guys today. My brother, Shaky Roosevelt Williams. Going a little bit about our history, how we crossed paths, his story, and how he's able to turn his pain into purpose. Super excited. So, Shaky, you want to give him a little history about your background, where you come from?
My name is Roosevelt Williams. That shaky name I left in the penitentiary. But I was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. Two-parent household, 3 other siblings. My father was present, but my father was abusive, mentally, physically, emotionally. And not to go too far into it, but my mother got fed up with it, and in 1989 she moved from Chicago to Indianapolis, and that's when things started really to change in my life. When you got a father in the household, you have a little bit of discipline, responsibility, even if it's too abusive or too aggressive. You still know your limits.
Yeah.
But when we moved in 1989 is when we moved to Indianapolis. That's just when my life started to.
Now, where were you at as far as age-wise with your?
I was 13 when we
you
moved
the oldest
to
or youngest?
I got 3 other siblings. I'm the third.
Okay.
So I have 2 oldest brothers, and I got a little sister. So it's 3 boys and a girl. And so right now I'm 48. So when we moved to Indianapolis, I was 13 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
So were you getting in trouble before you came to Indianapolis?
No. I guess I was afraid of my father.
Okay.
To be honest, like,
yeah,
he was brutal, man.
Yeah.
You didn't want to do nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And he was abusive, mentally, physically, emotionally, and it's crazy to say it, but maybe the discipline was overboard, but I needed it though.
Right.
I needed the structure.
Right.
And no, I didn't get in no trouble.
Okay.
Minor things, staying out too late, or but nothing major, man.
Right.
I didn't get into trouble until I lost that structure. I lost that structure.
So when did you know it started going downhill as you look back?
Moving to Indianapolis. My mother, again, she was trying to raise 4 kids on her own. So when we moved to Indianapolis, she still has to work. So I wouldn't see my mother maybe no more than 4 or 5 hours a day.
Right.
So imagine the time that she's not around. We got so much free time.
Right.
To do whatever we wanted to do, man. And I just started to just smell myself at a young age.
Right.
And I had a pivotal point in my life that made me just change.
Yeah.
Not to go too far into it, but my brother, man, was 14 when we moved to Indianapolis. We didn't know nobody. So my brother used to be gone like 2-3 hours every day. I'd be like, man, where you been at, man? I'm 13, 14. And he was like, man, I got a girlfriend. And so after living in Indianapolis maybe like 90 days, my mother get a phone call and my brother got locked up. They locked him up for rape, right? So my brother was articulate. He can draw. He was amazing. And so this woman that said that he had raped her, he knew everything about her. Her name, her age. He knew all her kids' names, their age. He knew her parents. And this was around Christmas time. He knew every present that was under that tree. So how can somebody that come into your house for 10 minutes to rape you know all these intimate details about you? He was in a relationship with her, but she was a married woman. And so one day, a neighbor saw my brother leaving her home. And when he saw her and him, the first thing she said was, he just raped me. And so at 14 years old, man, they gave my brother 30 years.
Hmm.
And I knew he didn't do it.
Hmm.
How can somebody know so much about you in 10 minutes? Unless they've been dealing with you for months.
Right.
So the system didn't care. My mother wasn't financially able to get him an attorney. So he went to prison at 14 years old for 30 years. And at that moment, I said, I'll never let nobody hurt me again.
Right.
Not my daddy, not the system. And at that moment, unconsciously, I became the victimizer because I wasn't going to let nobody hurt me again.
Right.
And at that moment, man, I think that's when my life just started. And it's crazy to think about it at 13 years old.
That's powerful.
You start realizing that you'll never let nobody hurt you. And I just started changing, man. For the worse.
Yeah.
But it's sometimes, man, situations in your life dictate how you move. Out of your control. But yeah, that was the moment, though.
When things started to change.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm grateful you shared that, man. So many different sides, like your brother, what he had to go through. The fact you're able to. Is there at that moment did you realize that's what shifted it, or was it later in life?
Later in life.
Yeah, that's how it worked for me, bro. You know, it's funny. A lot of times people like he's an addict. They think, bro, there's some trauma, you know, and they just did what they could. You didn't have a father in your life to help you process. Nothing against your mom. She's trying to do the best she can.
Best she
you know,
could.
Same thing. Kind of like for me, is like trying to do the best they can, and how do you process when you really don't have nobody to talk to about it?
And you don't have the skills at 13 years old.
And then you're trying to your brother's gone. Now you got to be the man. You got to step up. You got to be tough. You can't talk about these things. Wow.
Yeah.
So what you start getting in the streets then, or?
Yeah, at that moment I just started being rebellious.
Right.
You know, my father hurt me.
Yeah.
The so-called system hurt me.
Yeah.
And then I just at that moment, without no guidance, no responsibility, no structure, I just started rebellion.
Right.
Small petty things, from breaking the houses, stealing from stores, just doing just little kid stuff.
Right.
But it elevated.
Right.
Stealing cars and stealing stuff from stores elevated, man. Then I started I'm gonna say maybe about in '89 we lived out west.
Right.
By Ben Davis High School. So at that time it was predominantly white at that time. In my apartment complex, man, we probably was the second black family out there in 1989.
In Ben Davis area?
Yeah.
Damn.
So we stayed in Wickford Commons.
Yeah.
It was Tomahawk, Wickford, Chapel Hill. And them three apartment complexes, maybe 4 black families. But in my apartment complex, we was only the second black family out there.
So
in 1989.
What created that shift? You didn't create no animosity, or you feel like you were rejected or isolated? Because I'm sure that took place. So because the Shake y'all know, bro, is we're talking a moment about your book and how you helped me work through some things in my life. You're the complete opposite of that. So what happened going out there? Obviously, what got you to kind of like where you're at?
Man, being stripped naked from everything.
Yeah.
Being at my lowest point in life.
Was that when you got incarcerated, or?
Yeah. So just to speed it through. So in '89 we lived out there out west probably about a year or two. Then we moved out east. Complete culture shock. Like going from the only only 2 African American families in this neighborhood to now I'm around nothing but African Americans.
Yeah.
Nothing but my own ethnicity, man. And that's when life just rocketed to nothing. I went from selling drugs to carrying guns, man, to using drugs, And I was a mess, man. And in 1995, I was involved in a situation that landed me in prison. And in 1997, I was found guilty and sentenced to 65 years. Yeah. I went to prison at like 19, and I did almost 28 straight years. And during that journey is when I found myself.
Right.
Everybody want to say, everybody want to go to prison and find God. What better place to find Him
Preach.
than when you're at your lowest point in life?
Hmm.
That's when you know it's real, though.
Yeah.
That's when you know it's genuine. When you know that you have been stripped, you have been broken, and you have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you call on? Like, man, I've been given a sense of peace that even the Bible tell you that I will give you a sense of peace that nobody can understand.
In prison.
In prison.
I felt it too, bro. I already know.
Yeah, I made some mistakes. Yeah, my journey was hard. But ultimately, I was at peace, man.
Yeah.
Like, I never joined an organization.
Mm-hmm.
I never been robbed. I never been stabbed. I never been jumped on. I never been extorted. And it ain't because of who I am. Like, I've seen the toughest guy
You lay down.
get laid down.
For sure.
Get airlifted out the penitentiary.
Yeah.
But when the Father has a purpose for your life,
Yeah.
He's going to put a hedge of protection around you.
Mm-hmm.
And none of that stuff will come to your doorstep.
Yeah.
Like, I was really, and again, I've been in my mess. Like,
Right.
I've been in a lot of fights.
Mm-hmm.
Knives been pulled. But I haven't never been like broken, like jumped on, stabbed. Like, I ain't never been to the point where I needed medication.
Yeah.
Like, I knew it was something about that journey that I had to eventually come to understand it. And man, it was one day that I had a dream. And this was the turning point in my life where I accepted Christ. And I've been living for Christ ever
How old were
since. Maybe I had been in prison at this time. I'm gonna say probably about 15 years I had been in prison.
Dang, so it wasn't right out the gate.
Oh no. When you go to prison,
you gotta get some lockups out the way.
Right.
Yeah.
You gotta get some lockups, you gotta get some scraps, you gotta get some time. You gotta get it out your system.
So you about 35 then?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And so in this dream, man, the devil was sitting on my chest choking me. Choking the life out of me. And I remember saying, I rebuke you, Satan. I rebuke you, Satan. And I was crying in the dream. And man, I seen the light, man. And I woke up like that. And I literally had been crying. When I came out that dream, I had literally been crying. My eyes was red. I had tears in my face. And I knew at that moment that Christ was telling me, you come to me, you accept me, I will take care of you. I will protect you. From that moment, man, I knew it was real. I'm 48 now, man. And that love, that power, still feel it. I know he will. So I've been home, man, like not even 6 months yet. I got out last year, October. It's been hard. I ain't gonna minimize the journey. It's been hard. But man, I've been at peace. Like, I ain't had no worries. No worries to the point to where I felt like, how am I gonna get through?
Right.
I just always know that he's gonna make a way.
Right.
When I get down, man, I just think about what kept me them 28 years.
Mm-hmm.
I tap into that same faith.
Hmm.
And it keeps me going every day.
Yeah.
I was telling you earlier that I just had a job that denied me due to my background.
Mm-hmm.
2 days later, I get a job offer, making more money and closer to my house. So it's like we always say this. We say when man give a no, the Father give a knowing.
Yeah.
And maybe that job wasn't meant for me.
Yeah.
But it do bothers me a little bit that we still being judged for our past.
Yeah. No.
But I get it though.
Yeah. Well, and I should have, brought this in the beginning. Why, I mentioned I was excited about having Shaky on here. Or Roosevelt, my 10.5 years of, incarceration, being at Supermaxes, and, just educating myself, you're able to identify pretty easily who leaders are and who are not. And I remember there's a whole bunch of different situations where a lot of people would flock, to you. In the leadership, you learn there's formal authority and then there's moral authority. And for those of you who don't know, formal authority is like, hey, I'm your boss, and you need to follow. If not, there's repercussions. And moral authority is people want to follow you because they want to follow you because it's who you are.
Yeah.
And it wasn't too long, bro, that I realized, there was, if those of you who don't know, it's pretty racially divided in prison. And if you have any ounce of, on your own or weakness, or you're going to be a target. And not only on my behalf, I've seen you on multiple occasions, bro. Doesn't matter who you are. If you were righteous, bro, you weren't letting stuff go down on decks. And it's happened to me on a couple of occasions. Could I handle myself? Yeah, but you can't fight 10, 15 dudes. You can't, especially with gangs involved. But I think the most important thing was how you started your day. I remember I've been on multiple units with you. I saw who you are when you woke up, getting that word. You had a little oatmeal, your little coffee. But it was
do that.
Yeah, it was non-negotiable, bro, getting that word. And I think one of the greatest gifts God's possessed was meekness, And you had the ability to use that influence and that power for all the wrong reasons. And, you said being judged by our past, like what I thought was cool was you taking some of these younger dudes, regardless of race, underneath your wing and pointing them in the right direction, And what else can the community, society, victims of whatever we're going through, what else can they ask for us other than, hey, there's a worldly sorrow and there's a godly sorrow. Worldly sorrow is like, hey, I'm sorry I got caught.
Yeah.
Godly sorrow is watch my life be a living amend.
Yeah.
That shows you that my life is genuinely sorry for the things I've done in my past. And,
Yeah.
If you're going from being a part of the problem to being a part of the solution, bro, and, like there's multiple things I've learned from you. One of the things that we'll talk about in a second, you want to kind of talk about the book we're publishing. It's going to be coming out in a couple months, and the mission behind it and what you're hoping to do.
So I really don't remember dreams, man.
Yeah.
I just don't. Like, I have a dream, I wake up, I don't remember it.
Mm-hmm.
Parts of it. Oh, man, one day I had a dream, and I woke up like at 3 a.m, and I wrote it down from A to Z. And I knew at that moment it was a gift from the Father. And it's basically a book about how to change the narrative of racism, hatred, and bigotry. And it's to view it from a child's point of view.
Okay.
So, the Bible tells you kids are the closest things to the Father's heart. You can put 10 kids in a room, all different ethnicities. And within 10 minutes, they playing, sharing toys, having fun. And it's only until, we're going to say, parents, media, peers,
mm-hmm.
changes the thought processes of this purity.
Right.
And so I got a rough copy of it. And this is what was created while inside the facility.
Right.
Everything in this book was made inside.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can see it's from a child's point of view. and it has all the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
The illustration is ready to be brought. And so basically, again, it's just if we want to change hatred, racism, and bigotry, we must view it from a child's point of view because they don't see that
Right.
until they have been tarnished.
Yeah.
Until someone leads them astray.
Right.
But in their purest sense, they're the closest thing to the Father's heart, man.
Yeah. Well, regardless of the traction, bro, you're making a difference with this. Anybody's been incarcerated, you know, and he talked about like what happens is the child gets culturally conditioned either by their family or the media, and I grew up, in a culture where there's certain things that were put in my mind that were normalized, whether it was racism, domestic violence, addiction, codependency, a lot of unhealthy things, and some of you that are watching, there might be something that has been normalized in your life, and as your life has gone on, you're not comfortable with really, it doesn't sit well with you. There's a sense of shame attached.
Yeah.
And you can be set free from it. And, for me, when I met Shaky and we started getting close, we were joined, I told him, it's hard for me to trust African Americans or whatever the politically correct term is. And I told him why.
Yeah.
And it was through time, he was actually the person who helped me work through that. And now I got a whole bunch. I don't see race anymore.
Yeah.
That's why one of the values for Impossible is love. Because if hate is in your heart, then you don't know the Father. You don't know God. And so I always like to look at when people are teaching something, do they live it?
Yeah.
Right? And I know you're going to be able to help impact people because it was through you, man, that God helped me in that instance of my life work through that. And, it's kind of funny. You look at the world we come out and people try to throw dirt on your past. And it's kind of funny for, Impossible because, our pain is what gives us purpose.
Yeah.
We like to air it out and we like to do something about it, knowing that as we overcome it, we're equipped with the ability to help someone else navigate those same things, that they don't have to be in that bondage. They don't have to be in the dark no more. So, if you're struggling through something in your life and you're no longer content with it, tell somebody about it. And, as Impossible has gained traction, we're going to talk about some of the things that, he's been aware of Impossible when it was on a piece of paper and how it's grown. Man, people fear what they can't understand.
Yeah.
And, like he talked about how he had found Christ in prison. And, Isaiah 55:6 says, seek the Lord while he may be found. Why do people find it in jail and prison or in recovery centers? Well, the muddy water is still. And what happens when the muddy water is still?
Yeah,
it becomes
clearly.
clear.
You see clearly.
And your values start to become realigned. You realize what's important and you're able to start acting on it. And for me, it's through the word, creating an identity. And so, I'm not who the world says I am. I'm a new creation. And it's up to me to continue to prove that on a day-to-day basis. And, it's crazy. So this is a two-part right here. The other day, I was talking about how media is trying to cast the image on who I was as a person. And I really didn't care too much about how it affected me. I was worried about the people who were affected directly or indirectly about someone who I was 12 or 13 years ago. So I called a couple of my friends and mentors. Shaky Roosevelt was the first person I called, and I was like, man, I just need to get this on my chest, bro. But like, I'm sorry, for who I was 12 or 13 years ago, man. And the harm it might have caused you is shameful, but I'm not that person. I understand if you don't want to forgive me. I'm ready to prove my life, man, that that person isn't there no more. Yeah. And that was the first part. The second part, which really helped me, man, was how you were able to forgive me. Although that wasn't, who I am now as a person, it's two parts as a Christian, man, like communicating, making amends. But the second part was, your forgiveness. And I remember exactly what you told me, man. You said, one, bro, you were a child. Yeah. You were taught lies. The devil fed lies to you. And you were able to base your life off truth afterwards. And that's why you're able to change. And I was telling you how people are trying to persecute as we're attempting to, lead people closer to God and be a light in the community. You said, do you remember what you said about throwing the stone with base the word of God?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
He who is without sin cast the first stone.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to put focus on other people. But a lot of these people who are throwing the stones, they're part of the problem.
Yeah.
They're focusing on the people who might have a defective past who are out here trying to make a difference as a solution. And they're so easy to point fingers,
But what I tell you though, You have to focus on the spiritual battle.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
So that being said, this is a personal account. Like so many blessings and healings have come from, bro, your desire, pursuit to write down that dream and pursue it.
Yeah.
Allowing me and Jack to be a part of getting this published.
It.
You know, we're covering the costs. You know, we're going to help you get out there, and I know we're going to be able to impact lives as you're an advocate, bro.
Yeah.
Build light.
Yeah. It's powerful.
Yeah, for sure. For some of the people that don't know about Impossible, what would you kind of give them a background about your experience?
Ooh, man. I was with Impossible when it was just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
When it was just a dream. I'm not gonna lie, when it first started, I was like, when can he live up to this? You have exceeded my expectations.
Appreciate it, bro.
No.
No,
yeah. Man. You don't even really get it. Like, I've seen you change people's lives. I've seen guys, man, that was gang members, was addicts, just from your love, man. Change their lives. Man, it's crazy though, man, because I know God is using you. I know it. And I know that you had to be stripped, man. You had to go through what you've been through. Because you can never understand and have the empathy for somebody unless you walked in them shoes, man. You had to be tested to be a testimony. And I seen it, man. I seen the administration get so frustrated with you because they're like, who is this guy that can get gang members to drop their flags and become a part of this movement? They locked you up because they couldn't understand it. But like you said earlier, they fear what they don't understand. Mm-hmm. And once they realized that you had no ulterior motives other than to change lives, they had to fall on board, man. And I'm 48 years old. And this dude still has the power, the influence, the words to make me believe in myself. Like, that's impossible. But it's possible.
Yeah.
Like, I don't put too much effort or emphasis on man. Mm-hmm. Because man will let you down. We're fallible.
Yeah.
We was born in sin. We're going to die in sin. Mm-hmm. Man, maybe in my lifetime, I maybe know 3 great men. And you are one of them 3, man.
Appreciate that, bro.
Man, speak volumes, man. You're a great dude, man. And I'm thankful. Bro. I'm serious.
Great for you too, bro.
Just to know you, man. Yeah. Just to see what you go through. And it's been nonstop since the feet hit the pavement, man. You have been putting in the work through the criticism, through the hate. You have stood firm in your mission. And I'm thankful for it. And I know, and I just told you this earlier, even if you have changed just one life in your journey, in this mission, you've done your job. But you've changed hundreds of people's lives, man. And it's only the beginning.
Yeah, for us, for sure.
Impossible is real. He took the word impossible and said, I'm possible. When you give somebody the power, the strength to believe in themselves, you have gave them the power to overcome.
Yeah, you know, and I was talking to one of the females that are part of Impossible, and she made a good point just to clarify, you know, what is impossible? Well, it's for you to find your purpose. And for me, the legs of my purpose is addiction, recidivism, being a cycle breaker for domestic violence or racism or drug addiction or unhealthy relationships. But it's different for everybody. And so these 10 principles and 5 values, which in the near future you guys will be given access to, it gives me something to stand for and allowed me to work through. The most important thing for me was Christ, to be able to work through these situations from a holistic approach, knowing that I'm more than just merely existing, that I can make a difference. And it was through that when they say the 2 most important days of your life are the day you're born and the day you found out why. When I found out why I was born, that everything that people are trying to bring up about my past, that the devil meant for bad, God is going to use for good. And I realized, like, man, if I only understood geometry, I can't teach calculus. The fact that we've gone through this, we know the way out. It's 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. God hasn't comforted you, bro, to be comfortable. He's comforted you to be a comforter.
Yeah.
So through that, the 10 and a half years of, oh, that's wasted time. No, look at the law of mastery. 10,000 hours of practice at anything, you'll become an expert. You know what I did, bro, for 10 and a half years?
I witnessed it.
Yeah, you saw it. Passing out books, trying to learn them, trying to teach them, trial and error, accountability, mentorship. Bro, we were gifted. We were blessed with opportunity to figure out who we were throughout the process.
Yeah.
And I just want to reach out and tell anybody, if you're struggling with a sense of doubt, the devil's a lie. You are not who your past says you are. It's choice and not chance that determines your destiny. There's so many people out there who have a desire to change, just don't know how to do it. And when I wanted to share a shaky story, not only was he probably the most influential dude I knew in a joint, but his character, who he was as a person, something that I went to my mom's grave this morning. I was just speaking to her, and I was just so grateful. She gave me the perspective to look at when I'm attacked or these things are going on in my life. How can I bring God glory through it? Because I'm going to be able to show them that I'm different, how I'm choosing to respond. And I was sitting there, and I was quiet. And I remember something my mentor said to me. He oversees some of the coaching for the sheriffs for Indiana. And he says he might not like a sheriff, but he still doesn't leave them in the dark.
Yeah.
He never lets them to leave them in the dark. And you know what I thought about the other day, man, after I communicated with you about this internal battle of how I perceived could hurt my brothers. You know, I reached out to multiple mentors in my life, like, man, I'm sorry if this had harmed you, although it happened 12 years ago. That's not who I am. Let me earn your trust. But that next day you reached out to me and you're like, bro, are you all right? I love you. I got your back. And it meant so much to me. And, you know, there's so many cliche quotes, but, you know, people come to your life for a reason, see their lifetime, bro. I got your back. There's so many moments that can never be replaced that you've been able to show me who you are as a person, you know. My life is better because you crossed paths. And, you know, you mentioned a lot of I statements as far as me and what I've done, bro. It's we.
Yeah.
You know, you standing on the front of a character first approach to life, you're representing the same cause I am. As I'm hearing you talk to some of your dudes out here who you have influence and you're pushing impossible and telling them lives and giving them something to believe in, bro, in this world, we have a hope problem.
Yeah.
We're allowing the devil to steal and create a sense of fear there. We're not qualified. We're not good enough, that we are our past and we can't overcome it. That's not what the word of God says. So I'm a new creation. I'm no longer that person. And, you know, as you're able to, you know, in my life, whether it's me coming up here in Indianapolis one day a week to see you to work out and having these conversations, bro, you're impacting my life. I'm grateful for you, bro.
Vice versa, man. I'm serious. Like, you are a real brother, man.
Is there a favorite story that you can recount, an interaction with us?
Man, I think when I knew you was gifted. One day I think I was sitting on the wall and you was walking around the dorm. I tell you this all the time. You was walking around the dorm with Wolf.
Yeah.
I said, hey, Josh, come here for a minute, man. Read something, man. And you grabbed a piece of paper. You looked at it. Maybe 15 seconds. And you gave it back. And I was like, man, Josh, if you don't want to read it, just say you busy, man. Just don't look at it and give it back.
Yeah.
You said, Becky, I read it, man. I said, well, what did it say then? You read that thing back verbatim, word for word. And it blew my mind. At that moment, I knew you was gifted. But at that moment, I knew you cared too. Because you took the time out of your day to read something and to be able to have an exchange with me, whether it was emotions, words, or feelings. that you cared enough. And at that moment, man, I just knew you was a special dude, man. And you ain't let me down since, man. You an amazing human being, man.
I got a long way to go. I think.
No, you do. But they say, what is the difference between a saint and a sinner?
Mm-hmm.
A sinner is somebody that go through something, he stay down. A saint is somebody that's willing to get up and keep moving every time.
Yeah.
See, what you go through in life doesn't define you.
Right.
It's how you heal from it.
That's real. Yeah.
And man, you have healed and continue to get better every day. Like, man, I wouldn't care what the naysayers have to say.
Mm-hmm.
The same way the Father is using you to heal, to show his love, his mercy, his grace, the devil also has his army too.
For sure.
But you got to realize, again, it's not physical battle you're fighting. You're fighting a spiritual battle. And if you stay centered in what you believe, in who you are, and keep fighting your fight, you will prevail.
I think, when I was going through it, I called a lot of people. I was stressed out, as I heard.
I know you
behind
was.
my back. It stressed me out because it assassinated my character. But that being said, the past is the past. They have every right to be a critic. And I can have the ability to transmute that energy, that pain. The two greatest motivating factors for motivation are pleasure and pain, right?
Yeah.
Greater than pleasure is pain. So I'm able to transmute the energy to make sure I'm never that person ever again.
Yeah.
At all costs, non-negotiable. But, for me, impossible is that your lived experience matters. Those red flags and disqualifications of what the world says, like, outcast, never needed. No, the world needs you. And it's through that, when we became recovery coaches in the joint, I realized that that's what qualifies us, and so with that being said, coming out, having had this unfair advantage of prison, creating this identity, wanting to live out my purpose, coming out, dealing with what I'm dealing through, I know if people take advantage of being incarcerated, establish identity, continue to educate themselves,
you can turn
work
that
out,
pain into purpose.
Yeah, they're gonna not only going to turn the pain into purpose, but they're gonna have to go through what I'm going through right now. So right now, the best thing is becoming a teacher. It's not how do I get through it, but why. Knowing that there's other people as we're going to prisons, jails, recovery centers, and creating this vision of what their life can look like, and we're creating this beacon of hope of what we're doing. Because, bro, and I know all the things that's being done right now. It was on a piece of paper. We're talking about it, walking labs out the rec yard, through the prison bars, looking at the windows. A lot of people are watching because they're like, man, how did this dude and collectively others talk about what they're going to do and they're getting out there and doing it, right? So we're going to set them up for failure if we're not prepared for these opportunities. Like, how do we respond when that job says we won't let you because you're a pass? Are you going to give up? No, people are watching. So that being said, learning, making those adjustments as we are establishing our relationship with Christ out here, how do I respond based off of that identity to where I can empower others to know how to deal with it too?
Yeah.
And so that's what kind of like weathered me through that storm. My favorite memory of you, which, there's a saying, it speaks more volumes to me how you sit with the least than you do when you eat with the most. And I remember I don't think you remember, I don't think I never even told you about it, but we were in a mental health dorm when COVID hit. And I remember a mental health dude watched something on TV. I forget the dude's name. He was a gang member, a big dude. And I think we both didn't like him. That's irrelevant. But I remember him trying to bully this dude over the TV. And when you had nothing, you didn't have no fight going on, bro. You had nothing involved. But when you saw this dude trying to bully this mental health dude, and you stood up and you were willing, you called a dude to go out to go to the bathroom. If you guys don't know anything about going to the bathroom, that's where you fight in the joint. You can go down in the day room too. But I was like, man, that's a protector, man. The bullies, you were bullying the bullies in there to stand on righteousness, bro. And that point on, I knew who you were as a person. I was like, man, that dude's different. And that's what, when I look at the things we're going through, the world from the physical and the spiritual, that's what we're called to do, bro. Yeah. God's created warriors for us to stand on God, regardless of what the world says, and continue to persevere, because someone's going to watch us, and someone how do you overcome someone that's took life, right? How do you operate and redeem that? And you've done it, bro. You don't sit in your wounds, you lick them and be a victim and say my life's never going to change.
That profits you nothing.
Nothing, bro. But
to be worried about what you once was labeled, it changes nothing because it is what it is.
Yeah.
The only thing that can change the narrative is have you move forward from that point.
Yeah, it's real. You're the real deal, bro. And like this, when I was talking to John, and a couple other guys, even Randy and Max, I was like, man, dude. Not only I've said multiple times, not only the most influential dude I'm new in the joint, but like, bro, you don't even realize your worth. There's so many times I've seen you speak life into people, and I think what you went through with your brother, and then what you had to go through, it made you so compassionate. I feel like that's the greatest gift that you possess and I possess is love. And what that looks like is not judgment. But I don't care about your past, your race, your religion, your sexual preference. I don't care about none of that, bro. I care about where your heart is. Are you willing to bounce back from that? And that's why I think it's so powerful, with Impossible, having gone through pain and facing that darkness, not running from it. It makes you compassionate.
Yeah. Because you understand.
There's a whole nother level of love that comes from when you know how hard it is.
Yeah.
Because you're more compassionate towards the person who's going through it. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to go through. I have to know what you're going through to realize, bro, he's not a bad person.
Yeah. How do you judge somebody though that's been misused, misled, and misguided? That's how I was able to forgive my father.
Yeah.
How could I hold my father to a standard when he didn't even know the standard?
Yeah.
He was never taught the standard.
Right.
He didn't understand how to be a father.
Right.
He had to learn it as he was going through it. It's just like with the word, it say, as a child, we spoke as a child, we behaved as a child. But as you know, when you become an adult, you got to put off your childish ways.
Yeah.
So anybody that holds you to the things that you did as a child, man, they don't know no better.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like where I'm at. I forgive them.
You have to.
Yeah. And every podcast or conversation I have with people, it's impossible for them to understand my darkness if they've not understood their own. Right.
Yeah, but even if they have been through their own darkness, they haven't grown from it.
Right.
They still live in it.
Yeah.
And they want you to still live in it too.
Right.
So
if there was something you look back in your life, I know you said your turning point, you move to Indianapolis, you've seen what happened to your brother. But is there, outside of that dream and God waking you up and that peace, that comfort that came over you, is there another lesson in your life or something that you can?
I don't even like to talk about it. This one, man, seeing the victim's mother on the stand. Knowing that my hands had inflicted that hurt on that woman, that forever changed my life. Because that could have been my mother, though. And to know that I brought that pain into that woman's life, man, forever changed me, man. Because you don't have the right to take somebody's life, man.
No.
A lot of people may not agree with me on this, but the system is needed. Like, I chased a lifestyle that wasn't meant to be caught. Like, living that street life ain't meant to be lived.
Right.
I put myself in the penitentiary. So how could I ever be mad? That was one of the points, another point that allowed me to grow up and to get my life together was accepting responsibility for my actions.
Right.
Yeah, I was misled. Yeah, I was misguided. But I know right and wrong, man.
Right.
Just the stigma of want to live up to this image as a facade.
Right.
Like, we weren't born to hurt, to steal, to create chaos. We was made in this image. So that means, man, we were supposed to be living and being a reflection of the Father. But at one point in time, we fell off course. But that's one of the greatest things I love about the Father, is that He give us free will. He don't want no robot. He don't want to force you to love Him. Love me because you know I love you.
Right.
And just understanding, man, that I was the ultimate fighter for the devil. I fought his fight, man. Like, I was on the front line for him, man. And that's what led me to the penitentiary. But I wasn't equipped mentally nor spiritually to stand against him.
Right.
It wasn't until I allowed Christ fully into my life, so I was able to put on that full armor of Christ.
Yeah.
The helmet, the breastplate,
the
shoes. Only then was I able to fight against him, because I had the weapons, I had the tools. And since that day, man, I've been fighting for the Lord ever since, man.
Yeah.
And there's been times, man, and not to go too back far into it, but just the righteousness that I put forth. Man, I've stopped wars.
I know, I've seen some
in prison.
Yeah.
Now I'm talking about to where you had 20 guys on this side, 20 guys on this side, all with weapons ready to go to war. And my righteousness was not going to stop it. I don't think highly of myself. I tell you all the time, I'm undeserving. Like, I don't deserve it because of what I've been through.
Yeah.
The pain that I've caused.
Yeah.
But you always tell me, man, you are. Because the Father has blessed you. He has forgiven you. And now it's time for you to heal others.
Yeah. Well, real quick, you know, like, there's a saying, he who thinks he is a leader but has no followers simply taking a walk. You know, and for me, not saying they're leading these people, but what I'm saying though is, like, bro, listen, you got a squad with you even out here, bro. You know, KG, Hard, Wani. Well, those dudes are leaders. You know what I'm saying? And
don't leave yourself out.
No, I'm in a circle too, but this is what, like, when I really changed my life was like, man, I started understanding, like, yeah, God's gift to you, your talents and abilities, cool. But your gift to him is what you do with those talents and abilities. Are you willing to give him credit? And I'm asking myself, like, bro, like, I see you all chasing your dreams. And, like, I took pictures of you yesterday on FaceTime and you putting in work, because this is what we dreamed about. Just being out here and living. But we don't need to settle, bro. We got to continue to advance and be that salt of the earth. And people are like, well, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Bull crap, bro. You can put a salt block next to that horse. He's going to get thirsty. Yeah. That's what we got to do to live our life. And so I remember when I came down from a Supermax, I know you felt the same way. And you came around these level 2s and these kids who are starting to adopt the ideology of, like, hey, this is what I want for my life. You having lived that, and your street credit coming into a factor, you could say, bro, this is what you want, and this is why. What were they willing to do in an instance? Bro, I've seen you, so many brothers you pulled up on, putting a book on them. Hey, because I had a library, bro, and you pull up to me, you got a book.
But you know why I felt that empathy to them? Because I failed them. Like,
you led them in a different direction, huh?
Yeah, because I perpetuated that same lifestyle that led them to the penitentiary. So I understood the pain. And so that what led me to understanding how to get through to them.
Right.
Because I was the ones that helped failed you. So now let me help guide you. And one thing about people, they know when it's genuine.
Yeah.
They know when it ain't based on nothing other than your genuine concern for them. And I think that's the one element that you have that excel you above everybody else. They know there's no ulterior motives behind what you're doing. It's just your desire for change. Your desire to see somebody come through and use their pain for purpose.
Yeah.
Man, listen, man. What you're doing in Bloomington has never been done. You realize that, man? Like, you really got people believing that they can change.
They're changing, brother. They're empowering me.
Man,
inspiring me.
I see it.
And it's outside of Bloomington. You know, these dudes going to recovery events and repping Impossible gear. Listen, bro, breaking the cycle. That's what we're here to do, man. Is allowing our families, my nieces. That's what woke me up, man. And I'm grateful. My niece called me fraudulent the other day. She was like, you know, you say we change your life, but you're not being available. Because I got out here and I got busy. And, you know, like we're coming out here, bro, to break the cycle. If it's not for our family, it's for others. And, you know, it's a blessing. And, you know, people try to be like, oh, you're the face. Impossible. No, bro, Christ. If I lead them to my life, bro, I'm failing them. Yeah. It's about Christ because I'm human. Yeah. I'll be honest, bro. They tell me to pull over. It's going to be hard for me not to pull over still. You know what I'm saying? If I'm driving, you know what I'm saying? I still got character defects I'm still working on. So I'm not here to portray anything else. But there's so many people in my life, man, who are putting work in. And what's crazy, bro, there's a lot of people that are part of Impossible who had no fight with addiction, bro. Yeah. Where every day the wheels are turning to make a difference. And that empowers me, bro, for them to believe in something like that. For you to post a picture of us working out and like, bro, this is that the Impossible dude. Like the fact that you're pushing Impossible and teaching them. Yeah. But it's the biggest thing is the way of life, man. Yeah. Speaking life over people, the forgiveness, what you're able to do for me, I know you're doing for others, being some type of like checking up on people, them coming back on a work trip, like, bro, I want to see you. You're making yourself available, bro. You know, it's easy to isolate, but what's the greatest gift that any of us can possess, bro, is love. Yeah. You know? So, you know, I just want to tell you guys, man, share this with your friends. If you guys want to get in contact, whatever you guys put on your heart with Roosevelt, whether it's speaking, interacting, want to hear more about his book, you guys can either reach out to me on my personal page. My name is Joshua Sin, or Impossible Movement. We'll be loading this to our website. And if any of you guys want to support and buy some gear, you can go to impossiblemovement.com or come to my personal webpage and DM me. We got a whole bunch of gear. We're grateful for your time. I love you, bro.
Hey, there's one thing I want to say before we end.
Okay.
If it's anybody that I've ever hurt, that I've ever misled, that I've ever misused, I'm sorry. I didn't know no better. But you encounter me now, I'm making you the best version of me. With that,
I believe in you, bro. Man. I love you, man.
I love you too.
Keep making a difference, bro. You know, there's a saying, a lot of people, they might have a question, like, how can I get involved in Impossible? Yeah, you can DM, you can call. But it's as simple as living your best life and letting your light shine so brightly. Others can see the way out of darkness. And, bro, that's what you're doing, bro. You're letting people see the way out of darkness because you have that peace on you. Ain't nobody, I promise you, ain't nobody going to come across you and not feel the humility that you're operating out of, the compassion, the love. And it's not about you, bro. You constantly want to be of service to others, bro. So you're doing it. God's forgiving you. Walk out and live in that new life and that new identity he's given you. Don't let the devil feed you lies, bro. Okay? He tried to do it to me when I woke up this morning, like, you're unqualified, you're not worthy. I know what God's called me to do, bro. We're here to be chain breakers. Yeah. I love you, bro.
Love you too, man. You know it, man.
Yep.
For real. Got me emotional and stuff, man.
One thing I know is I got a purpose. Ready to fight all of my might. It's gonna be worth it. One thing I know is I got a purpose.